Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of The-Shree-Channel. Happy New Year. This is our very first episode for 2024 and we're super excited because to launch the series for this year about heroes amongst us, we genuinely have a superhero amongst us gracing our platform today. So without further ado, let me introduce Animesh Koratana.
Chandan Kaka, it's a pleasure. I'm very excited to be here today.
Awesome.
Thank you so much to everybody at the The-Shree-Channel for hosting me. It's an honor to be here as well. And then thank you also to Alkamashi. You've been an inspiration for me growing up. It's an amazing privilege to be growing up among a community like this. And I've grown up looking up to Chandan Kaka, to Alkamashi as a part of the community. And today we'll be talking a little bit about the startup and just reflecting on the last couple of years and everything that it's taken to get here. I can't thank the community enough. So really excited to be here and excited to jump in.
So Animesh, I used to think you're going to grow up into this super athlete who's going to, be this, Michael Phelps of our era. But looks like somewhere along the way things changed. You took a liking for computer science and artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. You're building this awesome startup now. Everybody talks about artificial intelligence. So tell us, what is PlayerZero all about and how it's different?
So PlayerZero actually it started as a research project that I was
mm-hmm.
working on when I was an undergrad at Stanford.
Okay.
And it started based on this belief that AI is really going to change the way that we work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to change the way that we build software, it's
mm-hmm.
going to change the way that we interact with our customers, the way that we really do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what we were particularly interested in, obviously, was the direction of how it's going to change the way that we build and support our software.
Okay.
What PlayerZero is, at its core, is we're an AI platform that understands how the code that engineers are developing,
mm-hmm.
how that basically impacts the operational and the customer side of your business.
Okay.
Right? And so this is really powerful because this is a almost intuitive process
mm-hmm.
that a lot of engineering and product leaders
mm-hmm.
end up doing kind of in their heads.
Yeah.
Right? And it becomes a really kind of core part
mm-hmm.
of how they manage releases.
Okay.
Right? So how are you actually managing the code that developers are building?
Mm-hmm.
How do you understand the impact that it's going to have on customers?
Mm-hmm.
And then once something's actually gone out there, how do we know the most important problems that customers are running into and then debug that?
Okay.
Right? There's this loop that engineering teams basically are a part of a lot of times.
Wow.
And what PlayerZero is an AI platform that
mm-hmm.
helps automate that entire process for this kind of next generation, this
Yeah.
next era of the AI world.
Wow, that's very interesting, Animesh. I mean, I have been associated with software development for some time, and I can tell you that many of the teams that I have been part of have struggled with these things. So I can see that this can really transform the way stuff gets built. But it also looks very complex and a lot of pieces here that need to work together and work seamlessly. So can you describe variety of technologies that you had to sort of build or get them to work together in the process in doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think on the AI side, it's there was a ton of innovation that we needed to do in order
mm-hmm.
to make a product like this. We have had to actually train our own mini versions of ChatGPT almost.
Got it.
So mini language models that run on our own infrastructure that can kind of scale up mm-hmm. to the size of the code base, the volume mm-hmm. of tickets,
wow.
All of those kinds of things that our customers really expect us to be able to,
mm-hmm.
to support. I think the other piece of this is also really interesting of how do you make, and I think you would really appreciate this kind of with your design mind,
right?
Is how do you make this accessible and
mm-hmm.
how do you make this a part of the workflow of how engineering teams are already working today?
Right.
And so, I think just an equally important and interesting part of our technology is how quickly we're able to integrate into the systems of record
mm-hmm.
that companies are already using.
Mm-hmm.
So PlayerZero today will integrate directly into your Git repository. So GitHub or Azure or Bitbucket or kind of
mm-hmm.
things like that.
Yeah.
And then we'll also go into places like Salesforce, right?
Oh, wow.
Or Zendesk or Intercom, or we have hundreds of these types of integrations. And that basically helps us quickly bootstrap our models, right? Train based on the learnings of the past and then become immediately actionable,
mm-hmm.
right? So that way we can basically predict the future mistakes, basically de-risk things for your customers,
Okay.
For your engineering teams. Yeah.
Okay, so Animesh, to kick things off, I'm going to give you the mom test, or ask you to describe in layman's term.
Yeah.
What is it that PlayerZero does?
I think in the last 20 years, the internet has gotten really big. Don't have to say that twice.
Yeah, true.
And because of that, every single company has had to become a software company. And what that's done is it's made software and all the products that we use every single day, right? The target.com, right? When you're trying to buy a pair of shoes. The infrastructure and the engineering that goes behind just making that page load is extremely complex. And so when we're on target.com, right, and we add something to the cart and we hit checkout and the button doesn't work, right? And then we'll make a phone call to Target, right? And we'll say, hey guys, like I'm trying to buy shoes, it's not working, right? There has to be someone in the middle who understands me, the customer, what I'm trying to do,
right,
what the page is looking like, all of the details about the customer, and then somehow connect it all the way back through those different engineering systems, through the different lines of code, to the actual people who have built the software, so that way something can be done about it.
Got it.
Right? And what PlayerZero is really trying to do is basically build a bridge between the customers of a business and the engineering and the code that really makes that software business run.
Awesome.
Right.
Okay, Animesh, so looks like a really, really interesting idea, and it looks like you're already brought it to market already. Tell us a little bit about the customers that you're working with.
Yeah. So PlayerZero started almost 3 years ago now, and so in that time, we've been really fortunate to work with some amazing customers.
Okay.
Some of the kind of well-known names here might be companies like Databricks.
Okay. Wow.
Dropbox.
Okay.
Figma.
Wow.
Helpline.com. So a lot of times when you look up, something that my knee is hurting or something like that, chances are you've actually sent a little bit of data to PlayerZero.
Oh, okay.
And what's been really interesting is actually working with customers like these has, forced the posture of our engineering, of our security, of our governance, to really just take another level.
Okay.
And so it's really forced us to, mature our product offering, and after that also the scale and security of our product offering to really kind of meet the needs of the industry.
So I remember you've been dabbling with artificial intelligence since you were in school. You did that TED Talk. Then you went to Stanford and learned from some of the best, professors you could find in this area.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey, and I'm more curious to understand why you picked this specific area, this problem to solve. What appealed you?
Yeah. I guess to start with the journey. Yeah, reflecting on the last 10 years almost, maybe even more, working in artificial intelligence. I've been extremely privileged to always be around a community of mentors who really pushed me to think bigger.
Okay.
Growing up in high school, I was a part of a robotics team. I got to lead that in some capacity, but I also got to surround myself with some incredible mentors.
Right.
Both at home, my dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I know him.
Everybody. And then even in the robotics team itself, I surrounded myself with some amazing people. Then fast forward a little bit more past that, I was in college. I was able to work with actually the founders of Databricks.
Oh, okay.
So they were actually my advisors and mentors. And they ended up actually even being the first investors in our company when we first started.
Wow.
And then after that, now with PlayerZero, we've raised a little bit of money, but I think more important than how much, it's from whom.
From whom, correct. It's always the case.
Yeah, we have some of the most incredible operators in the world as well.
Yeah.
The founders of Dropbox, the founders of Databricks, the founders of Figma, and dozens more actually.
Yeah.
And so that journey, I think as much as reflecting on what we were able to learn, I think it's also important to reflect on how we were able to do it with the mentorship and kind of guidance of the community and the mentors along the way. To kind of answer your other question about why choose this problem.
Yeah.
So I've known this, I felt this for a long time. It's that AI is really going to deeply change the way that we interact with the world.
Yeah.
It's going to change the way that we consume information. Change the way that we build value for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be an incremental change from the way that we work today.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the first place that AI is really going to change the way that we work is through knowledge workers.
Okay.
So knowledge workers are, they're the people who operate with context.
Yeah.
They have information. Correct. They have human information.
Cognition,
they have
cognition. Yeah.
They have intuition. These are the ones who really, I think, make the world work.
True.
And in the world of software, as I said earlier, right, has taken the world by storm. It's, I think, where the most leverage is really being created today.
Very true.
And software engineers, developers, engineering teams, I think are the knowledge workers that are going to be disrupted first.
Got it.
In this new AI age. And so what I really wanted to do was to say, AI is going to change the way that we work. It's going to change knowledge workers, and it's going to change the way that we build and support software.
Got it.
And so at PlayerZero, what I really wanted to do was make that a reality. Right? And so that's why we kind of chose this problem.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I mean, it's always very interesting to know the deep sort of, reasons why people pick up certain problems they want to chase.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of it was, going back to my first answer actually, I was able to reason about this from, first principles even.
Yeah.
With the professors that I was able to do research with. Right. A lot of kind of themes that I just said here.
Yeah,
were actually similar themes to the research that these professors were doing and that I got to be a part of.
Right.
In my undergrad years.
Correct.
And so.
Yep.
Yeah, just having the confidence to be able to pursue something like this came from the whole community.
That you're part of.
Behind it.
Yeah. Animesh, I've been always curious about startups. They come across as this glamorous, interesting, packed with action kind of working environments. What has been your experience? You started one, you lived through it for 3 years. Tell us, tell us the inside story.
Yeah, that's a funny question. I've grown up around startups. My baba actually started a startup when I was in elementary school, and I watched that grow through most of my high school, middle school education.
Yes.
And then now, as you said, right, I've been working on this for 3 years. So it cuts both ways. I like to say, today at PlayerZero, I'm the CEO, but I'm also the janitor.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm also the therapist, and I'm also the chief product officer, and you have to put on many different hats.
Absolutely.
Some that you're good at and many that you're not good at.
Yeah.
But what I've learned about startups is that if you really deeply care about the problem, that is probably the only good reason to actually go after starting a startup. And the benefit of a startup is that you basically are working in this kind of capitalist incentive structure. You get to set up a solution to a problem that'll sustain beyond you.
Correct.
And that's the really beautiful part about startups, right? You kind of get to control your own destiny.
Yeah.
Right. It gives you certain types of freedom to be able to solve a problem that you really deeply care about.
Right.
But the ups and downs are undeniable. There are many days where I wake up and I have to question, right? It's like, am I really doing the right thing? Or do I even know what I'm doing? Right?
Correct.
But it goes back to having that community and the support, and then after that, just being passionate about the problem that you're solving.
Correct.
That keeps you going through the startup. It's not all roses and sunshine for sure.
Yes.
And it's not for everyone either.
Very true.
Because it's weirdly, actually, if you're in it to make money, chances are you should probably do something else and you'll make more money.
More money. So it looks like
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Looks like it's like you're very clear about your why. That's your North Star, and that's been helping you through the bumpy path.
Yeah, and we're still early too, right? We're 3 years for startups. We're still a startup.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
We're not a huge company with thousands of employees and everything yet. And at the inflection that we're at right now, what we're learning is, in order to really hit even more scale, at this point, it's actually not even about the product anymore.
Okay.
It's actually about the people in the team, right? Structuring all of that properly so that we know the problem that we're solving is valuable. We know we've seen the customers use it really deeply. Now it's basically structuring the team and the company so that we're ready for the future. And that's a skill set that's completely different than what brought us here at the beginning. Right? So it's a constant state of
learning.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know 3 years is not a very long journey, but you've come this far. Now, from this point onward, when you look out, in about say 5 years or so, where do you see yourself, and where do you see PlayerZero getting to?
Yeah, where I see myself is still here. Still working on PlayerZero. But the answer for where we see PlayerZero is actually pretty simple. As I said earlier, the AI is coming for all of us, right? It's going to change the way that we work.
Yes.
And what I really want to see PlayerZero become is the de facto answer for how engineering work will look. And so in 5 years, we want to be that de facto answer. Right? We want to help realize that new way of working.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty ambitious, but again, many of us who are in the business would benefit if someone like you can pull it off, and in my view, I think you're more likely to pull it off than most others I know.
Well, to reflect a little bit there, we're ChatGPT came out now just over a year ago.
Yes.
PlayerZero has been in existence for 3.
Yeah.
Right. And so in a market like the one that we are in today, PlayerZero is actually one of the most mature product offerings out there.
Right.
And so, with our background and with the work that we've put in, we think it's actually possible.
Okay, Animesh. So again, you're, barely out of school, but you already made so much progress. What advice you would give to students who are in colleges, high schools, or maybe graduated some time ago, but they're still trying to find their footing as to what do they want to do with their careers? What advice would you give them, having this sort of inside view of artificial intelligence industry that you have?
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I would preface all of this by saying, advice is always painted with hindsight. Right? And so my experiences are different than yours, and yours will be different than the people listening today. And so it applies differently, and it's important to think about your own context when really taking any advice. But from the experiences that I've had, 2 things really kind of come to mind. The first is kind of fluency with computers, fluency with AI. Not thinking about it as this incremental change, but knowing that it's going to really change the world, and becoming comfortable with it. Right. Every sword cuts both ways.
Yes.
Right. And either we get to be we get to be the ones holding it, right, or we're going to be the ones who get cut by it. So that's kind of the first advice I'd give, right, for people kind of growing up right now.
So
really
just embrace it.
Embrace it. Right. Embrace it. Learn how to use it. Learn how to live with it. It's going to change the world.
Yeah.
I think the second one, and this is one that I think I learned in the last couple of years, is that it's important to be picky about the problems that you choose to spend your time with, right? Especially when we're young. We're cash poor but time rich.
Yes.
Almost.
Correct.
And we forget that a lot, right? We forget that a lot. We senior year of our college, right? Everyone's looking for a job, and they're hoping that somebody will give them an offer.
Right.
But what we forget is the person who's actually giving the offer is getting the better end of the deal.
Yes.
Because they're getting, a smart person who's worked really hard for the last 8 years with a fresh mind to work really hard at their business.
At their problem that they care about.
I love working with people that young, right? Because it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Right. And we lose that that leverage that we really have in our life, and we should be more picky about the problems that we choose to solve, because time is actually the kind of the biggest asset.
It's on your side at that time.
And no amount of money can ever buy time back.
Yes,
right?
correct. Very true.
So being picky there is really, really important. But otherwise, just kind of zooming out a little bit, we talked about this a few times today, but the community has been such a big part
Mhm.
of every privilege that I've had in my life.
Okay.
And I want to be a part of that community,
Mhm.
getting back to it.
So have you been
forward.
like mentoring or looking?
Yeah. I mean, I've a couple of peers that I like to mentor, and they also mentor me back a little bit too.
Yeah.
And then I'm always happy to help in any way that I can. Please feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
By the way, if there's anything that I can do to help. So my email is animesh.koratana@gmail.com.
Mhm.
And otherwise, I also involve myself a little bit in Thai Atlanta.
Thai Atlanta. Okay.
It's a great community here
Mhm.
for entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
both established
Yeah.
and also younger. So they have a high
Yes.
school program where they
Correct.
teach how to structure entrepreneurial thinking.
Yeah.
And then even you, Chandan, I think the program that you're working on,
Right.
can create a lot of structure for thinking about how to take ideas in their nascent stage
Mhm.
and really figure out how to bring them to life.
Right.
Right. It's about building that confidence.
Correct. Absolutely.
And so that community goes a long way.
So in the end, Animesh, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time and such insightful, thoughts and ideas about your journey so far. And I also want to thank Shree-Channel for giving me the opportunity to interview someone this special. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandan Kaka. This was a ton of fun. Thank you all. Thank you, Shree-Channel, and thank you all for listening. Grateful to be here.